The scream came before sunrise. Women rushed from their mud houses with wrappers barely tied around their waists. Men grabbed lanterns and cutlasses. Children hid behind bamboo fences while goats scattered across the narrow dusty parts of Obanoko village. At the center of the cassava farm, under the dying glow of a lantern, lay Chinidu. His body was covered in mud and blood. But what made the villagers freeze was not the blood. It was the gold. Tiny shining stones surrounded his body like cursed seeds. "Who did this?" old Mama Yugo whispered. Nobody answered. 3 men stood close to the body. Obesai, Kamalu, and Is. The 3 best friends in Obanoko. Or at least they used to be. Obesai's breathing was heavy. His hands shook violently. "We only came to check the traps," he muttered. Kamalu suddenly pointed at Is. "He's lying." The villagers gasped. He stepped back in shock. "What nonsense are you saying?" Kamalu's eyes burned with fear. "You were the last person seen with Chinidu yesterday night." Obesai turned slowly toward Is. "You said you went home." "I did." He snapped. Before anyone could speak again, the sound of engines echoed through the valley. Every villager stiffened. The Americans were coming. 3 black vehicles roared into the village like invading beasts. Dust covered the air as armed guards jumped down first. Then came Mr. Raymond Ko. Tall. White-skinned. Cold eyes. The American supervisor sent by a foreign mining corporation known as Gold Line Extraction Company. Behind him stood local police officers carrying rifles. Mr. Ko looked at the dead body only once before his gaze shifted toward the gold stones. His expression changed instantly. "Where did you find this?" he asked quietly. Nobody answered. The villagers feared him. For 3 years his company had been taking land from nearby villages in search of gold. Anyone who resisted disappeared. People whispered about secret prisons hidden inside the forest. Others claimed bodies had been buried near abandoned mining sites. But nobody dared challenge the Americans openly. Mr. Cole crouched beside the gold stones. His eyes widened. "This is raw vein gold," he whispered. One of his guards leaned closer. "Sir." Mr. Cole stood up immediately. "Seal the entire village." Panic exploded. "What? You cannot do this." Children cried as armed men spread across Obanoko. Nobody was allowed to leave. Then Mr. Cole pointed directly at Obesai, Kamalu, and Is. "Arrest them." The entire village gasped. Obesai struggled instantly. "We did nothing." Kamalu fell to his knees. He stared at the gold stones with terror. Because only the 3 of them knew the truth. This was not the first gold they had found. And Chinidu was not supposed to die. As the police dragged them toward the vehicles, Obesai suddenly shouted, "Don't trust Is. He betrayed us." Isa's face went pale. The villagers erupted in confusion. Kamalu closed his eyes. Because deep down, he feared Obesai was telling the truth. 3 weeks earlier, life in Obanoko village had been painfully ordinary. The villagers farmed from sunrise to sunset. Their lands were dry. Their harvest weak. And hunger followed every household like a curse. Obesai, Kamalu, and Is worked together daily on a rented cassava field near the forest hills. They had grown up together. Shared food together. Survived poverty together. But poverty changes men differently. Obesai dreamed of power. Kamalu dreamed of wealth. Is dreamed of security. One hot afternoon, while digging near a stubborn tree root, Obesai's hoe struck something hard. Clang. The sound echoed strangely. Kamalu laughed. "You finally found iron after all these years." But Obesai knelt down slowly. The soil beneath the root glittered. At first they thought it was broken glass. Then sunlight touched it. Gold. Real gold. The 3 men stared silently. Nobody breathed. Kamalu grabbed the piece. "This can change everything." Iz immediately looked around nervously. We should cover it. Obesai's eyes remained fixed on the shining earth. There's more under here. They dug for hours. The deeper they went, the richer the deposit became. By sunset, they had uncovered enough raw gold stones to make them richer than anyone in Obanaka. Kamalu smiled wildly. We sell this in the city. No, Obesai replied immediately. Kamalu frowned. What do you mean no? Obesai pointed toward the hills. If there's this much here, then there's a mine underground. The idea silenced them. We start our own company, Obesai continued. Why sell once when companies can buy from us forever? Kamalu laughed. You think Americans will allow Africans own gold business? Obesai stepped closer. Then we hide it until we are strong enough. He shook his head. You're both thinking too small. The others turned toward him. We keep the land hidden forever, he said softly. Our children and grandchildren will never suffer again. The debate lasted deep into the night. None of them agreed. But greed had already entered the friendship. And greed never leaves quietly. As they prepared to leave the farm, they noticed something terrifying. Footprints. Fresh footprints. Someone else had been watching. The three men froze. Obesai lifted his lantern higher. The footprints disappeared into the dark forest. Kamalu whispered. Do you think the Americans know? Nobody answered. Because somewhere beyond the trees, a cigarette glowed briefly in the darkness. Someone was indeed watching. And smiling. Rain pounded the roofs of Obanaka village all night. Thunder shook the earth. But Obesai could not sleep. The footprints haunted his mind. At midnight, he quietly left his hut carrying a lantern and cutlass. He headed back toward the farm. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. When he reached the cassava field, the lantern light revealed fresh digging. Someone had returned. The hidden gold pit was half open. Obesai's heart slammed violently. He dropped to his knees. Several gold stones were missing. Then a voice emerged from behind him. You should have buried it deeper. Obesai spun around. A tall man stood beneath the rain. Black coat. American boots. A scar across his face. The stranger smiled slowly. You villagers never know when to stay quiet. Obesai tightened his grip on the cutlass. Who are you? The stranger ignored the question. Instead he held up a gold stone. This belongs to Gold Line Extraction Company now. Obesai's anger exploded. No. The man chuckled. You people say that before disappearing. Suddenly flashlight beams appeared behind the trees. More men. Armed men. Obesai turned and ran. Gunshots cracked through the rain. Bullets tore through cassava leaves as he sprinted blindly into the darkness. He barely escaped. By dawn, he reached Kamalu and Isa's huts. They know, he whispered. Fear spread instantly. Kamalu cursed loudly. He sat down heavily. We must leave the village. But Obesai shook his head. If we run, they will hunt us forever. Kamalu grabbed him angrily. This is your fault. You wanted a company. And you wanted quick money. Obesai fired back. He suddenly shouted. Enough. Silence followed. Then they heard drums. Emergency drums. The village square erupted with panic as elders gathered. One person was missing. Ngozi. The young woman who sold vegetables near the farm. Her hut was empty. Her door broken. And near her bed, a single gold stone lay on the floor. The villagers began whispering immediately. Gold spirits. Curses. Americans. But Obesai noticed something worse. Mud. Fresh boot prints. American boots. He slowly looked toward the hills where the mining camp stood. And for the first time, he realized their discovery might destroy the entire village. That night, Obesai followed the boot prints beyond the hills. Hidden behind thick forest trees stood the American mining camp. Tall fences, floodlights, armed guards, and screams. Obesai crouched behind bushes as two guards dragged the prisoner across the muddy ground. His heart nearly stopped. It was Ngozi. Her hands were tied, her face swollen. Mr. Cole stood nearby smoking calmly. "You villagers always become greedy," he said coldly. Ngozi cried. "I said nothing." Mr. Cole slapped her hard. "Then who found the gold?" Obesai's anger burned. But before he could move, another prisoner was dragged from a dark container. Chinedu. Alive. Obesai froze. The man they later found dead was still alive tonight. Which meant something worse was coming. Chinedu looked terrified. "I only told one person." Mr. Cole leaned closer. "Who?" Before Chinedu answered, gunshots suddenly exploded near the forest entrance. Chaos erupted. Villagers had arrived carrying torches. Obesai escaped during the confusion. But one thought haunted him. Who had betrayed them first? The elders gathered secretly inside the shrine house. Fear filled the room. People were disappearing. Americans were taking more land. And rumors of gold spread rapidly. Then Kamalu made a dangerous mistake. He secretly traveled to the city. There he met a black market gold buyer. He sold one small stone. But greed blinded him. The buyer asked questions. Too many questions. By evening, police stormed Kamalu's lodge. He escaped through a window. But not before hearing one sentence. "Inform Gold Line Company immediately." Kamalu ran back toward Obonoka. Breathing heavily. Terrified. But when he reached the village, soldiers were already waiting. Someone had spoken before him. And the soldiers were asking for ease. He sat quietly inside his hut while rain fell outside. Then came a knock. 3 knocks. Slow. Careful. Is opened the door. Mr. Cole stepped inside. "You made the correct decision," the American said. Is avoided eye contact. "You promised nobody would die." Mr. Cole smiled. "Business requires sacrifice." On the table sat a leather bag. Money. More money than Is had ever seen. "You will tell us where the mine is," Mr. Cole continued. Isa's hands trembled. "I only wanted protection for my family." Outside the hut, hidden beneath the window, stood Obesai. Listening. Every word felt like a knife. Is had betrayed them. But before Obesai could react, Kamalu appeared behind him. And he heard everything too. The two friends exchanged furious looks. Inside the hut, Mr. Cole quietly said, "Tomorrow, we arrest Obesai." Morning came with violence. Police trucks surrounded Obonoka. Women screamed as officers kicked open huts. Children ran in panic. Then they found Obesai. He fought like a wild animal. 3 officers could barely hold him. "You traitor," he screamed at Is. The villagers stared in shock. Is remained silent. Kamalu stepped forward angrily. "You sold us for money." Is shouted back. "I was trying to save us." Mr. Cole interrupted calmly. "Take him away." As Obesai was dragged toward the truck, he noticed something horrifying. Chinedu sat inside another vehicle. Bruised. Terrified. Alive. Their eyes met briefly. Then Chinedu whispered, "They know where the real gold is." Obesai's blood turned cold. Because only one person besides the 3 friends knew that location. And that person had vanished years ago. Kamalu broke into Isa's hut that night. Inside the leather bag of money, he found something unexpected. An old map. Ancient. Burned at the edges. Marked with symbols. The map showed hidden tunnels beneath Obonoka. Gold tunnels. Kamalu's breathing grew heavy. Their village sat on a massive gold reserve. Suddenly footsteps approached. Kamalu hid quickly. Is entered with Mr. Cole. We move tonight, Mr. Cole said. And the villagers? Is asked. Mr. Cole smiled darkly. Relocation. Kamalu knew that word. It meant death. Once the villagers disappeared, Gold Line Company would own everything. Kamalu escaped through the back window. But outside the hut stood armed guards. Waiting. Obesai escaped prison with Chinedu during a violent storm. They fled into the forest. Exhausted. Bleeding. But Chinedu finally revealed the truth. Years ago, Obonoka elders discovered gold beneath the sacred village shrine. They hid the secret to protect the land. But one elder betrayed them to foreign companies. That betrayal brought the Americans. And now Is has repeated history, Obesai muttered. Chinedu shook his head. No. Is hiding something. Before Obesai could ask further, gunshots erupted nearby. American hunters had found them. The chase began again. Kamalu sat tied inside the mining camp. Mr. Cole placed the pistol on the table. You can become rich, he said calmly. Or die protecting poor villagers. Kamalu stared at the weapon. Greed battled fear inside him. Then Mr. Cole revealed piles of gold bars. Real gold bars. Kamalu's eyes widened. This is only the beginning, Mr. Cole whispered. For one dangerous moment. Kamalu considered betraying everyone. Then he remembered the starving children in Obonoka. The broken farms. The missing villagers. Slowly, he pushed the pistol away. Mr. Cole's smile vanished. A pity. The guards raised their rifles. Flames swallowed Obonoka before dawn. Huts collapsed. People screamed. Animals scattered. American bulldozers entered the village while armed men forced families away. Mr. Cole announced loudly. This land now belongs to Gold Line Extraction Company. The elders resisted. They were beaten publicly. Women cried as sacred shrines were destroyed. Then something shocking happened. He turned against Mr. Cole. You promised nobody would get hurt. Mr. Cole punched him violently. You Africans always believe promises. He finally understood. He had never been a partner. Only a tool. And tools are discarded. Obesai, Chinedu, and Kamalu reunited beneath the old shrine. Hidden there was an underground tunnel. Ancient. Dark. Filled with bones. Victims. Former villagers. Men who once resisted mining operations. The friends realized the Americans had been killing people for years. Then they discovered something worse. Explosives. Gold Line Company planned to blast the entire village by sunrise. Including everyone still trapped there. The countdown had begun. As they prepared to stop the explosion, Chinedu suddenly pulled a gun. Obesai froze. Kamalu stepped back slowly. Chinedu's eyes were cold. I should have taken the gold alone. The truth exploded into the open. Chinedu was the first informant. He had contacted Gold Line Company secretly after discovering the gold. But the Americans later turned against him. Now he wanted revenge. And the village? Obesai asked. Chinedu shrugged. Collateral damage. Gunfire erupted instantly. Kamalu tackled Chinedu. The gun slid across the tunnel. Then the explosives timer activated. 10 minutes remained. The final battle consumed the underground mine. Guards stormed the tunnels. Bullets echoed endlessly. Dust filled the air. Mr. Cole personally entered the cave carrying a rifle. You should have accepted poverty, he growled. Obesai attacked him furiously. The two men crashed against gold-covered rocks. Meanwhile, Kamalu fought Chinedu near the explosives. Is arrived unexpectedly carrying villagers behind him. He had returned to help. But redemption came late. During the struggle, Chinedu was shot. Mr. Cole fell into a collapsing gold pit. And the explosives timer reached 1 minute. Everyone ran desperately through the tunnels. Then he stopped. There's no time. He turned toward the explosives. Obesai realized what he intended. No. He smiled sadly. Tell my children I tried. The tunnel collapsed behind him. Moments later, the explosion shook the mountain. Weeks later, silence covered Ogbunaka. The Americans were gone. Government investigators discovered evidence of illegal killings and secret prisons. Gold line extraction company collapsed under international scandal. But the village remained broken. Many homes were destroyed. Many people never returned. Obesai and Kamalu stood near Isa's grave at sunset. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally Kamalu whispered. We found gold and lost everything. Obesai looked toward the fields. No. Kamalu frowned. Obesai continued softly. We lost ourselves long before the gold. Children played nearby among fresh cassava farms. Life slowly returned. But beneath the soil of Ogbunaka still rested mountains of gold. Untouched. Waiting. And deep underground. In the darkness beneath the collapsed tunnel. A weak voice suddenly whispered. Help. The story was not over.